Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is We're the Game, and we're going to be talking about the Cardinals and the Seahawks. I'm Michael, and that's Luke. He is the Cards fan. You've had a little bit of time now to process, recover emotionally, deal with the things that came up from this game. It was a close one. Seattle pulled it off the final bit there with a 50-yard field goal, which used to be considered long. Seems like that's pretty medium in today's game. What are kind of the key takeaways from what was a pretty close game between some bitter rivals in that division?
Key takeaways. The spotlight, the microscope, everything is on Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. I think that he would be called absolutely a bust right now if it weren't for that touchdown pass in particular. That kind of eased that tension just a little bit, but a lot of people are still there. And I get it. I'm frustrated by it too. Right now, it's very much so on him. One of the interceptions is absolutely on him. It's in his hands. I think I heard some analyst or former player call it a dime, just on his hands, and he just handed it to the other team. He didn't mean to. It's not like he sabotaged us, whatever. It was just bad. And the other one, we're not really completely sure because all the angles are tricky there. You can blame Kyler or Marvin or whatever. There's another one, and there were other plays where he went left and Kyler threw right, and they're still doing I thought this way, and this kind of thing. So it's stuff that we really as fans wanted to be past after year one. You're like, okay, now you've had a year. Game should have slowed down a bit. You should know the playbook, or maybe Kyler doesn't know the playbook. We don't know, but that. None of it makes a whole lot of sense. The second half, he played better. He made some great catches, and there was that touchdown. So there's something, but it seems to be something between the ears. A lack of confidence, or just a lack of focus, or just distracted. We're not really sure. Key takeaways for the game, aside from that, I mean, that is the big thing, which is why I put so much time on it. But other things, our defense is playing better than it did last year, but they are not going to win a whole lot of games all by themselves. This is not Cleveland's defense.
Yeah.
So I'm loving them. I'm Calais Campbell's, Renaissance, or whatever you want to go, swan song, whatever this is. I'm loving all that, but it is not going to just carry us all by itself. Our offensive line has had trouble. It had trouble with them last year. I think we got 5 sacks in one game against the Seahawks. I mean, that they had against us, rather. In the first game that we played against the Seahawks last year, and they had 6 this year in the first game. So something's wrong. Maybe it's a schematic problem. They just have the perfect players to counter our players. I don't know, but we only gave up 30 sacks on the year last year, and 5 of them were in one game to Seattle. So, yeah, now Kyler's probably getting a little beat up. I'm glad he's got a couple extra days this year this week rather, before our next game to try to work some of the bruises out. So, yeah, it's a long-winded way of saying there were a lot of things that went wrong. Primary things that come to mind is offensive line did not play great, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is figuring out whatever it is he's figuring out, and hopefully he actually figures it out, because this is getting kind of old. So, what did you see? What stood out to you?
Well, we were talking a little bit about how it's a tale of two halves for the Cardinals for sure. And in the first half, the 2 interceptions, however they may have come about, really seemed to pigeonhole the Cardinals into a, hey, we got to catch up offense, which made them one-dimensional. Now, what we had talked about was, we wanted to see Trey Benson run some more and see in an offense that I think we both feel like was built to be run-centric, and now is all of a sudden a passing offense. That got some results, but maybe not as much as if they could have been more balanced. But I wonder if that also plays into the offensive line, where the offensive line is built and they're schemed to be, hey, we're going to get running plays, we're going to get passing plays. It's not just going to be we're getting bull rushed all the time. And instead, I wonder if that plays a role, in the effectiveness of the offensive line, is they're planning on getting a little bit of a break with some of those handoffs instead of this constant barrage of being, having to protect the pocket the whole time. Do you think that plays potentially a role there at all?
It can. One of the things I touched on when we were talking about it, was that I don't like being one-dimensional because it raises risk because you've become predictable. Now, I mean, if you can make it work, and I don't care if it's all run or all pass or all whatever, and you still make it work, then great. It's just much higher risk. And absolutely, that's something that Seattle wanted to do. Every team, I think, wants to force the other team into that position. Playing from a lead is like playing with a lot of chips in poker, I imagine, where you can kind of dictate terms a bit, take some more risks. And that's probably part of what it added to some of those sack numbers that I was talking about. So, if you're all passing, then there's it's hard to sack the quarterback when he hands it off. So, yes, we don't want to be one-dimensional at any point in time. We would like to be able to confuse and surprise and all those things and really strategize. But honestly, I'm glad they were able to do as much as they did under those circumstances. But not sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Marvin Harrison, as a Cowboys fan, Marvin's year so far had reminded me in a lot of ways of how I'd felt about George Pickens. I realized is, he's made a couple of plays here and there, but it's like, man, I feel like he's capable of a lot more than this. And I think that's the same stress or strain that everyone has, and probably Marvin has on himself, is that reality that I can do some stuff that's well beyond this. It's just finding it. And finally, George had his like, oh, okay, there it is kind of night in the game that we had. I'm just hoping that similarly, Marvin's able to kind of find that level of comfort, which I really feel like a lot of it is. And I wasn't 100% sure, not that I want to put the interception on Kyler per se or any of that, but it didn't seem to me like Kyler was as accurate, that this was his most accurate day. Yeah, I think he was fine. I don't think it was necessarily the most accurate day. With that being said, the defense, the secondary for Seattle is no slouch with Devin Witherspoon run around, and he was running around all over the place.
Yeah. No, you're right. Kyler, our down the field passing, I mean, Kyler passed at about 66% or just a shade under, which is not atrocious, but it's a little under, it's under his own average. So there is something there, but he's also, we touched on this, he averaged under 5 yards per completion, I believe, or per pass, which is going nowhere quickly. So I get a lot of plays, screen passes and those kind of things are just extensions of the run game and what their effect is intended to be, just kind of methodically moving down the field. But our down the field, we talked about this last week and the week before, our down the field passing seems to be non-existent, which is frustrating when you see other teams really chucking it down there. It's not working. So it goes back to, it would be me going back to Kyler and just saying like, hey man, are you just afraid to throw the ball deep? But I've seen him throw the ball deep and I know he likes to, and he's pretty good at it. At one point back a few years ago, he was like the number 1 or number 2 deep ball passer in accuracy in the NFL. So I know he can. So it's either the tools around him or the scheme that he's in really just doesn't lend to that much. I'm not smart enough to know which one. So, I mean, I can have an opinion like everyone, but I don't know. I don't know. So
it's just like, who does he trust? Like, who would you trust to throw that ball into, hey, your guy's got to have to compete for that ball right now. Exactly. And every team knows that, and they're double teaming him all the time. Sure. And
But yeah, there's a lot. I still think that there's some stuff schematically that Seattle does on defense that counters well what we are trying to do on offense. We'll get another chance to play them later this year, and hopefully we'll put up a better showing and sorted some things out. I know we're hopefully getting our right guard back, and that was a bit of a problem in this game. But it was a bit frustrating to watch all that come together.
It is one thing that you had pointed out I hadn't paid as much attention to beforehand was red zone defense. I'd actually be very interested to see, and we'll have to look at that, how the Cardinals would rank in red zone defense so far in the year. You've given up the max I think is 22, 23 points in a game that you've given up. They're stingy in the red zone, and so do you have a feel for what makes y'all so effective in the red zone? Like, what is it? Is it a scheme change? you have those safety guys who are so maneuverable. Like, what do you think it is?
This is one of those things where it's a bit of X's and O's that goes over my head.
Yeah.
The automatic thing is we play a lot of, I believe, a good amount of this deep safety cover two kind of things that a lot of teams have played more of since about 2022, 23. And I think when you naturally get into the end zone and there's just less field to cover, you're allowed to move some guys up, then cover the run a bit closer, because a lot of teams, of course, when you get to the 5, you're just going to run 3 or 4 times. And so I think that all of that is stacking up well for them. I think that our defensive line is better than it was last year with Calais and Dalvin Tomlinson and Darius Robinson's playing better. Akeem Davis-Gaither has been a nice addition at linebacker, especially after the loss of Kaiser White. I think he led us in tackles this last week in Seattle. So we've had some guys step up and I think play better. We have 2 really good safeties that I really like, and we actually have a 3rd safety behind them that I really like as well. So we are somewhat naturally built for those scenarios. It's scary because we give up a lot of yards. I mean, we give up a lot of yards, but not a lot of points. I think we give up top 10 in yards, but bottom 5 or bottom 6 or something like that in points per game. So it's one of those cardiac Cardinals kind of moments where we're always being threatened, but usually come through. So whatever it is they're doing exactly, good job. It scares me to death, but I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, I am too. I'll be interested to see how they keep going. Hopefully, you'll have a more of a get right game or get healthy game, however you want to look at it, against Tennessee coming up this next week after quite a good break. So yeah, hopefully everything smooths out and they get the offensive wheels going a little bit more. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Well, thanks everybody for joining. We'll wrap it up there. Yeah, we're almost to 100 subscribers, getting pretty close. So thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. And if you would like or subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. And we will see everyone next time. Thank you.